In this video, we want to use probabilities to identify unusual results. We'll go back to our same example where X represents the number of light bulbs that will burn out in the next year if there are 8 light bulbs in the room. And this time, instead of being given the mean and the standard deviation of the probability distribution, we are given the probability distribution itself. This has already been determined. So we can see for 8 light bulbs, all our possible values of the random variable are listed here as 0 through 8. That's the number of light bulbs that could burn out during the next year. And next to each one is the probability that that outcome would occur. Okay, so we might be asked the question, given this information, would it be unusual for 4 bulbs to burn out in the next year? So it's asking if we use the probability method of determining whether we have an unusual value, we would look at then the probability of 4. And the probability of 4 is right here, 0.069. And while that's a small number, it's still, based on our criteria, it's greater than the criteria we said we would use was 0.05. So, since it's greater than that cutoff point, then we would say that no, it would not be unusual. Okay, because the probability of that occurring is greater than 0.05. Okay. And we saw that before with this example when we looked at 4 also, right? And notice that 0.069, kind of close to 0.05. Remember our cutoff point, our maximum usual value was 4.2, so it was close there also. Okay, another question we might be asked. Well, would it be unusual for 5 bulbs to burn out in the next year? So let's look for 5 in here. Here's the probability of 5. So probability of 5 is equal to 0.016, and in this case that's less than 0.05. So our answer here is yes. It would be unusual. Okay, less than 5% chance of happening, we consider that unusual. And here this is 0.016, so that's definitely less than 5. Okay, let's look at one last question we could answer. Would it be unusual for 1 or fewer bulbs to burn out in the next year? So that would be, to write that, probability of 1 or fewer. Well, that would be the probability that X is less than or equal to 1. So that's 1, or fewer means or less than 1. Well, what outcomes fall in that category? Well, that's the probability of 0 plus the probability of 1, right? Or, see that word or is telling us to add our probabilities, right? So the probability of 0 plus the probability of 1, 0 was 0.124, 1 is 0.295, and let's scroll up a little bit here so we can see what we're doing. So when we sum those two probabilities together, we get 0.419. So our answer clearly here is no, it would not be unusual. That's almost a 42% chance that 1 or fewer bulbs would burn out over the next year, right? So this is significantly greater than, and I can put our note there that this is greater than 0.05, significantly greater than. So no, it would not be unusual for one or fewer bulbs to burn out in the next year. So this is an example of how we can determine whether or not we have unusual values using probabilities.